Hello, my name is Samuel Tamici, and I'm here to tell you that pit bulls are loving pets and they're not dangerous threats. Would you believe me if I told you that one of the most affectionate, loyal, and family-friendly dogs is also one of, if not the most feared breeds of dog today? I'm going to show you why pit bulls are not monsters like some believe. They are actually wonderful family pets. Personally, this topic is relevant to me because I have two pit bulls at home, and they are both great with my 5-month-old son. And on a bigger scale, this topic is relevant because there are so many pit bulls that are put down or left in shelters every year. Not because of their behavior, but because of their breed. An estimated 1 million pit bulls are euthanized each year, and they account for 40% of all dogs euthanized by shelters annually. As I previously mentioned, I have two pit bulls at home, but I have had pit bulls all my life, even before then. After researching the breed even more, I learned that pit bulls were never meant to be the breed to be vicious, but rather to be loving, family-friendly dogs. We'll begin by looking at the history of pit bulls, their image, and how it has changed. Then we will discuss their true nature, and finally the real reason behavior varies even among dogs of the same breed. And now let's begin with where pit bulls came from and how they got their bad reputation. Pit bulls were originally bred for companionship and not violence. Pit bulls were well-known family pets before they got their bad reputation. But historically, pit bulls were known as nanny dogs because of their loyalty to children and families. Throughout the 19th century, pit bulls were increasingly bred as pets, predominantly for families in the working class. This was the time around which pit bulls began to be recognized for their nanny dog qualities, which made them ideal in homes with children. While some pit bulls were selected and bred for their fighting ability, other pit bulls were specifically bred for work and companionship. These breeds are also called Velcro dogs because they always want to be around their people. Negative perceptions of pit bulls only surfaced after they started being used for bull baiting and dog fighting. Today, pit bulls are a descendant of the original English bull baiting dog, which is a dog that was bred to bite and hold bulls, bears, and other large animals around the face and head. When baiting large animals was outlawed in the 1800s, people turned instead to fighting their dogs against other dogs. Pit bulls began to be vilified in the second half of the 20th century, in no small part due to their unfortunate surge in dogfighting rings, which led irresponsible breeders to mistreat them to induce vicious qualities. However, the truth about pit bulls goes much deeper than their history in bull baiting and fighting. Pit bulls are naturally gentle, affectionate, and loyal. Pit bulls were specifically bred for work and companionship, and these dogs have also been popular family pets, noted for their gentleness, affection, and loyalty. They're also empathetic and able to detect distress and offer comfort, a great trait in any babysitter, in the form of snuggling or licking their humans. Pit bulls showing aggressive temperaments were generally removed from the breeding programs, even when the dogs were being bred to fight. Historically, any dog that behaved aggressively toward a person was culled or killed to avoid passing on such undesirable traits. Even those pit bulls bred to fight each other or other animals were not prone to aggressiveness towards people. A pit bull's demeanor heavily depends on its upbringing and environment. There are many factors that can affect a pit bull's temperament, which include but not limited to early nutrition, stress levels experienced by the mother during pregnancy, and even temperature in the womb. When it comes to influencing the behavior of an individual dog, factors such as housing conditions and the history of social interactions play pivotal roles in behavioral development. So if pit bulls are naturally so gentle, affectionate, and loyal, why is there so much variation in its behavior? Well, a dog's behavior is shaped by its environment and its experience, not just its breed. The factors that feed into the expression of behavior are so inextricably intertwined that it's usually impossible to point to any one specific influence that accounts for a dog's becoming aggressive. This is why there is such variation in behavior between individual dogs, even when they are one of the same breed and bred for the same purpose. Breeds are often stereotyped with generalizations rather than treating dogs as individuals. Behavior develops through a complex interaction between environment and genetics. This is an especially important consideration when we look at an individual dog versus a breed. Even if two dogs come from the same litter, they can have very different personalities and behaviors depending on how they were raised. But just because a dog is bred for a specific purpose does not mean we can determine how its temperament will be towards people. For example, a pit bull specifically bred for fighting may not be aggressive, but rather loving and affectionate towards humans. Conversely, the Labrador Retriever bred to be a service dog may be aggressive towards people. And let's review why pit bulls deserve more love and less fear. Today we went over the history of pit bulls, their true nature as a loving, affectionate dog, and the influence of environment and upbringing over behavior. The next time you hear someone say that pit bulls are aggressive or dangerous, I hope you remember it's not about the breed, but about how they are raised. Pit bulls do not need to be feared, but rather treated with the same love and affection they show to humans. And if you are ever interested in getting a loving companion, I encourage you to visit your local shelter and meet some pit bulls for yourself. You may find that the most feared dog might actually be the most loved.